So the year-long context is a procedure that we've worked really hard to try and streamline. And so for those of you out there who are a type A personality and you say, look, I want all the steps, I will make a year-long context for you that will make you smile and you'll want to laminate and sell. Then we have those for you. And here are the steps. There's 10 steps. The first 5 steps walk you through the actual creation of the year-long context. And then the last 5 steps really get into the unit plan design based on the year-long context. But the trick to these steps, as you explore the why, and you got to get to know that, you actually have to read the standards. And not just read your standards, because in that second step, when we're looking at the vertical articulation, in some cases K through 12, you don't want to do what we call cherry picking, where you go, well, I teach 4th grade, so I'm going to use my 4th grade standards. If I operate just in the 4th grade standards, I might be missing some critical pieces of information. So it's vital that we experience that vertical relationship. So for example, a kindergarten standard might say, with guidance and support, identify a main idea and a supporting detail. A 1st grade standard might say, identify the main idea and a supporting detail. And a 2nd grade standard might say, identify the main idea and several supporting details. A 3rd grade standard might say, identify the main idea and evaluate the best supporting detail. So the nuance in that verb we're going to get into in terms of unpacking. But we want to make sure that for the year-long context, we're aware of our piece of the puzzle. And most importantly, if it's a standard that, let's say for the first time, so for example, if I'm doing the Common Core standards, the 4th grade is the first time inferencing is brought through in the reading. Well, that's not something I just want to tuck in and do with all my reading standards. I'm going to want to highlight that. So the decisions about where I overtly teach and assess it are going to be influenced by that vertical articulation in step 2. As we get into step 3, we're reading these standards and we're thinking to ourselves, beginning, middle, or end within a given year. We want to think about areas of retention. Things taught in January and February might be stronger. I might have more time to develop it. I have 7 weeks of instructional time in the average American school. Whereas in September and October, I only have about 5 weeks of instructional time if I'm lucky. So these kinds of considerations are going to be important. So we're going to call those the in context or the horizontal alignment. But it's the 4th step where we really process the bundling and we start saying, how do these standards go together? Are there connections between standards? We want to read these standards, reread them. Now, some groups take the standards and cut them out and actually lay them out with Post-it notes, for September and October, and November and December, and they cut and paste and put them out. They find this very helpful. Many teachers say this is the only way to do it. Some teachers make a grid and they just write the code for each of the standards. So if they're doing the writing standards, they'll say W1 and W2. So in this way, they organize and they can see how many standards they're putting into each section, which can be very helpful because I don't want to oversaturate one area. Whichever way works for you, talk it over with your team, talk it over with your partners, and I've even had some teams switch midway. They start with one technique and then they switch to another. The purpose of this is to process the standards and to learn about how they connect in a deep way. The 5th step is a return to the why. So at this point, we've been in the very granular pieces, but the first step was to understand the why. So the 5th step goes to a bigger picture area of the standards. So if I'm using the next gen science standards, for example, there are the science and engineering practices. I would want to look at those. The math Common Core have the mathematical practices. The literacy part have the capacities of a literate individual. Whatever set of standards you're working on, there's an intent. There's something where we talk about the lens for the development of these pieces. You want to return to those and connect them in a logical way to your year-long context bundles so that you're sure that when you create units that you have the why and the what that you want to develop.